past 8 years, the video game industry had centered its attention on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, as the long-time battle between the two video gaming giants, Sony and Microsoft, continued with its 8th generation consoles. Nearly hundreds and thousands of games later, and nearly millions of consoles sold, gamers spent hours per week on end taking in the action as both consoles exceeded expectations, but did better than each other in multiple avenues. But now, with the holiday season just around the corner, the attention now goes to the upcoming 9th generation consoles from the video gaming giants, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. The expectations for both Sony and Microsoft are at sky-high levels, and the talk is now all about which of these consoles will do better than the other, and if this generation of consoles could be the greatest in video gaming history. Today, we take a look at both consoles, some of the exciting games that will come out for both consoles, and overall expectations for both of them as they are set to hit the shelves this holiday season. This is the PlayStation 5 vs Xbox Series X, expectations for the 9th generation. Heading into this year, gamers have been digesting new info about the upcoming 9th generation gaming systems and have looked forward to seeing who would win out in the battle between the two newest consoles. And with popular games coming out exclusively at launch like Gran Turismo 7, Far Cry 6, and Halo Infinite, there are a lot more expectations regarding the new consoles than ever before. I had the chance to sit down with Doug Coleman and Bren McCullough of video game podcast Almost Better Than Silence to discuss the hype surrounding both gaming systems and the expectations they have heading into the holiday season.
I would say I'm very excited. It's an exciting time to be a gamer, to know that we're in a new generation of video games on the horizon here. I also was never the kind of person that would be on the bleeding edge of technology. I don't always have the funds for those kind of things. They do tend to be rather expensive. Am I going to be one of the first people buying one of these? Not necessarily the case, but I am very much excited.
For me, not so much, just because I moved around for a while. So wherever I moved to, I needed a computer to do stuff with, and sometimes I didn't have the space or the funds, like Doug said, for a console and a TV. So I figured I was going to need my computer anywhere I went. So I became more PC gaming oriented the last decade or so. With any technology, the first batch always got some sort of problems. So at least for my money, for a consumer standpoint, unless you're so eager to get your hands on it, I'd recommend just holding off for at least a month and getting all the patches and bugs worked out.
To start, a lot of the attention will be focused on some of the games that will be released at launch. Some of the exciting ones to watch are the remaster of The Last of Us 2, Spider-Man 2 Miles Morales, and the brand new yet-to-be-announced Call of Duty. But there are other new games Bren and Doug are keeping their eyes on that they think can also do well.
Seeing what they have to offer, there's a new Fable game coming out, or something with Fable. Man. So I'm a big Fable fan.
Same.
There's a new game called Balan Wonderworld, which has very heavy Nights into Dreams feels to it, which is like an homage to the old Sega game. So I know plenty of people who are excited for stuff like that.
I'm not sure if it's 100%, but I'm pretty sure they mentioned it. A follow-up to Horizon Zero Dawn. What is it called? It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. But that is one that really I'm looking forward to, because that game was one of the first games I ever really platinumed on the PlayStation 4. It's just a world you can get lost in, and I really enjoyed Aloy's story and stuff. So to continue that on a new generation, that'll be really exciting. Another interesting thing about like the Xbox consoles, a lot of the games for it are going to be also available on PC, as long as it's like a Windows machine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Microsoft's been kind of converging the PC market and Xbox market, and it's good for like online play, cross-platform playing. But I feel like it's also kind of cannibalizing their games department as well, because like I said, the exclusivity is what sells the console. I can't say for sure whether one option's better or not, but it's an interesting choice. So we'll see how that goes with Microsoft.
When looking at the previous 8th generation consoles, the Xbox One did well in some areas, but overall struggled to keep up with what gamers demanded. The PS4, however, became a smashing success, becoming the second highest selling console in history behind the PlayStation 2 and achieving multiple Game of the Year awards for some of their games. The 9th generation consoles have a lot that they can do to be better than the previous generation, and some of what has been discussed that can see improvements are key features, quality of the games, and the overall prices.
One thing that I do see that they're improving on is controller design, and I know I really am excited about getting my hands on that PlayStation 5 controller. It looks so good. It just looks like just a better version of what I'm already used to. The PlayStation 4 controller, I'm thinking how much better can it get? Seeing the specs and like how the PlayStation 5 controller looks, I just can't wait to get my hands on it.
It seems like Xbox with the Xbox One, with the 8th generation console you were talking about, it seemed like they were trying to turn it from a video game system into a home entertainment system where it would play like all your movies, it would connect to your social media, you can go online, you can do shopping through Amazon with that. And Sony seems to just be, they know what the PlayStation is, they're sticking to it. It's the game console, and they're just leaning into that harder in that market. So whereas Microsoft tried to expand into a more broad demographic, and it seems like that kind of shot themselves in the foot in the 8th generation because, like you were saying, the games weren't really there. I can't think of too many Xbox One games that stand out like, man, that was a great game.
So I agree with that we are kind of at like a threshold. Knowing that this is the 9th generation, I don't expect the 10th generation for a very long time, because it's going to be, like Brent said, we'll have to have some new innovation. Maybe like they'll have more with VR and everything. I know they were trying to push with that, and there is a huge audience for it, but I still think your average household hasn't really dived into VR even just yet. So I'm curious to see if they're going to have a lot more to offer there.
I think the price point is going to be tough. People are speculating that's $500. I don't know if that's been confirmed yet. But yeah, people are speculating like $600. That's going to be a bigger hurdle to get over.
Yeah.
With the console itself, the console is a one-time purchase, so that's easier to do. It's the accessories of like the controllers. That's hard to do. Any headsets or keyboards that are attachments to it, that's going to be a hard price point to argue. And the games. People are speculating about the cost of the games being above the $60 mark, and they've been $60 for almost 2 decades now. So
yeah.
if this is the generation that's going to bump it up over $60, that's going to be a big hurdle to fight over.
And of course, for gamers like Doug and Bren, there's always something Sony and Microsoft can do to keep these gamers on board for a very long time.
Exclusives that nobody else wants other than me. I want Dark Cloud 3 for PS5, and then like I don't know, like something like Panzer Dragoon Orta 2 on Xbox, or like bring back Jet Set Radio Future 2. Like I'm just a super nerd. Like those super exclusives that you realize there's a niche fan base for, that if only you invested the time and money and effort into it, I think it would kind of take off in a modern sense.
But the backwards compatibility, that's an easy way to keep people around, because it's like, oh, all my old games are now no longer obsolete. I can now play them on this console and then sell the old one for any pocket change I can get. That's an easy way to keep people around longer, easily. That's also extremely difficult. So I think a lot of us take for granted the PS2 to PS1 backwards compatibility, and we naturally, and the Xbox 360 to Xbox backwards compatibility, we took that for granted, and we're like, oh, every console should be this from now on. It's like, you're essentially taking 2 machines and mashing them into one now, like, because they're so different development-wise.
But then they confused us with those first rounds of PS3s that were actually backwards compatible.
And,
I was like,
and then they pulled it out. Yeah. So it is very difficult for developers to do that. I'm aware of that, but that is a way to definitely lengthen the longevity of your product.
Overall, there are a lot of expectations for the 9th generation consoles, and a lot of hype to make them perhaps the best video game consoles in video gaming history. The bar set for them has been set very high for the both of them, but there is also a lot of hope that both consoles can make an impact with today's generation.
I feel like Sony's going to continue to do what they've done, which is leaning into the console and the games, and their demographic for the people that are dedicated video game players. Whatever the next Souls game is and stuff like that. Whereas Xbox, I have a feeling, because of their track record, are going to try and diversify what the Xbox Series X is, and be like, oh, this is just another big entertainment machine. I feel like Xbox is going to try and spread themselves too thin again. And like I said, with the all of their exclusive games being on the Xbox Series X and the computer and the PC, they're kind of cannibalizing themselves there. So, why buy the console when almost everyone already has a computer for some reason or another?
It's also just like an interesting time knowing that there is the Switch out there, because I'm just curious how many people are going to want to spend this kind of money. It is smart for them to do it at a holiday. That's like very typical. Xbox definitely has some exclusive there, but I just can't imagine them besting PlayStation. I just think that's going to sell very well. I'm curious to see which will do better, the digital edition or the one with the Blu-ray player. I'm just assuming people, if they already have a PlayStation 4 and they're buying a PlayStation 5, they'll just get the digital one and be like, I have a Blu-ray player on the previous generation. So it's going to be interesting.
Which leads us to the ultimate question. Which 9th generation console will do better? The PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X?
I anticipate PlayStation to do better this time around, as like they have seemed to be doing lately. I'm curious though if the Nintendo Switch will still have sold more than both of them, not combined necessarily, but each of them individually, because the Switch just took the world by storm and it's such an innovator. And I wonder, neither I feel like Sony or Microsoft have any desire to play in the handheld space.
Yeah, I think unless Xbox can just pull something out of nowhere real fast one, and it seems like they're leaning on the old franchises like Fable and Halo. It seems like they're kind of leaning on their last leg there with those, but it seems like out of desperation rather than innovation. It's not like, hey, we have a new idea for Halo. It's like, no one's had a new idea for Halo in the last 10 years. Like, what are you talking about? So I think Xbox, unless they can pull out something just really miraculous, I think it's going to sell well, but I think PlayStation 5 is going to beat it out.
And of course, how excited are you for the 9th generation consoles? And what games are you looking forward to playing on both of them? Let us know down in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.
Thanks so much for having us on your YouTube channel. We're really grateful to be here. Our podcast is called Almost Better Than Silence. It's a weekly show every Monday. We just go around table with some friends talking about the games we've been playing. Every now and then we try to schedule some interviews and stuff just to have like some cool guests. So we've had people on like Reggie Watts, Alan Covert, Nick Weiger, a bunch of podcasters, musicians, just people, comedians, lots of fun guests. So I definitely recommend checking out our feed over on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all over the place. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find Almost Better Than Silence. And our social media handle is just ABT Silence on Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook.
And then I have another one myself, which is Are We There Yet?, which is about anime. We watch 3 episodes or a movie of an anime, recap it, discuss our opinions on it. Podcasting's fun. You gotta do a lot of goofy stuff. So check that out. Are We There Yet on everything.